former International Secretary of the Theosophical Society and former head of the editorial office at the international headquarters at Adyar. He has also served as president of the Indo-Pacific Federation of the Society. At present, Pedro is the education coordinator of the Theosophical Society in Australia. He has lectured widely for the Society in Australia and in many countries, and his articles have appeared in a number of TS journals. He is the author of the book En Sri Ram, A Life of Beneficence and Wisdom, published in 2009. And his talk tonight is The Secret of Evolution. So would you please welcome Pedro Oliveira.
Thank you, Philippa. Can you see me?
No.
So I better get up. In certain states in America, in the United States, where by political majority the teaching of intelligent design has become enforced, in those states they pronounce the word evolution as evolution, because they are trying to enforce a biblical understanding of it. So this presentation is not biblical. It's simply a presentation based on a theosophical understanding of evolution from different points of view. Let's begin at the beginning. This is the definition from the Oxford English Dictionary. Can you read it?
Yeah.
The process, evolution is the process by which different kinds of living organisms are believed to have developed from earlier forms during the history of the earth. I think it's quite straightforward. Now, this will require glasses. The idea of organic evolution was proposed by some ancient Greek thinkers, but was long rejected in Europe as contrary to the literal interpretation of the Bible. Lamarck proposed a theory that organisms became transformed by the efforts to respond to the demands of their environment. Lyell demonstrated that geological deposits were the cumulative product of slow processes over vast ages. This helped Darwin towards a theory of gradual evolution over a long period by the natural selection of those varieties of an organism slightly better adapted to the environment and hence more likely to produce descendants. Combined with the latter discoveries of the cellular and molecular basis of genetics, Darwin's theory of evolution has, with some modification, become the dominant unifying concept of modern biology. And of course, the scientific view of evolution is based on observation, on testable hypotheses, and a gradual accumulated body of knowledge that has stood the test of time. But I think it's important to realize that the scientific view is based on sensory-based observation. And the theosophical view acknowledges that there are other dimensions involved in the process of evolution that we normally don't see. What is the origin of the word? Early 20th century, 17th century, from Latin evolutio, unrolling, from the verb evolvere, see evolve. Early senses related to the movement first recorded in describing a wheeling maneuver in the realignment of troops or ships. Current senses stem from a notion of opening out, giving rise to the sense development, evolvere. Again, early 17th century, in the general sense, make more complex, develop, from Latin evolvere, from e, variant of ex, out of, volvere to roll. So these are the, let us say, the beginnings of the word evolution. The sense here seems to be that it is an unfolding, a development of that which is already there through the process of experience. We will see some quotes from a paleobiologist from England, Simon Conway Morris. The late Dr. Hugh Murdoch was quite a fan of his book, as Brian remember. And he had some tussle with, let us say, radical Darwinians that don't see any sense in evolution being more than what they say it is. And we are going to see the statement of one of these representatives of radical Darwinian viewpoint. But even in the beginnings of the meaning of the word, a very important sense is there, isn't it? The unrolling. So one theosophical author said that the underlying principle in evolution of every species, including the human species, is what is implicit tends to become explicit, right? Manifest itself. And this applies not only to the physical level, but also to the emotional level, mental level, and spiritual levels, of which there are several according to the teachings of Theosophy. A very important question. Are you bored?
No,
Not yet.
You haven't been going long enough.
Huh?
You haven't been going long enough to send me to sleep.
That's my preemptive strike, you see. This is Simon Conway Morris. Evolution is true, it happens, it is the way the world is, and we too are one of its products. This does not mean that evolution does not have metaphysical implications. I remain convinced that this is the case. Now, when he wrote this, you can imagine what was the reaction of materialistic Darwinian scientists. They didn't like, how can you talk about metaphysics in relation to evolution? Well, he seems to believe that there are such dimensions. Probably, I think this is one of the reasons why Hugh Murdoch really liked his book and review it. And you can read the review of Simon Conway Morris' book on the website of the TS in Australia under articles. It's there. And I'm not paid to do that. Now, Stephen Jay Gould was a very famous, prominent American paleontologist, evolutionary biologist, and historian of science. His nickname was Darwin's Bulldog. If you presented any view of evolution that didn't follow Darwin's viewpoint, he would be on to you in a very, very strong sense. We are here because one odd group of fishes had a peculiar fin anatomy that could transform into legs for terrestrial creatures, because the earth never froze entirely during an ice age, because a small and tenuous species arising in Africa 250,000 years ago has managed so far to survive by hook or by crook. We may yearn for a higher answer, but none exists. How do you respond to that statement? I don't think you welcome swear words in Brisbane, Lord, right? But how do you respond to this statement? Briefly.
It's narrow. It's very narrow.
Narrow. What else?
well, you can't say that none exists, can you? Because he doesn't know.
That's
He
exactly
hasn't
right.
done his work. He hasn't
Yeah.
done his research.
Now, according to his knowledge, nothing exists, because he was quite respected as a scientist, but he became very hard on his ideas or viewpoints.
So he's narrow-minded, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that we should open the debate if God exists or not, because that's not the point. The point here is that for many scientists, this is the truth, isn't it?
His premises are based on very strong assumptions that you cannot even verify.
Yes.
Some scientists tend to be fundamentalists in their own, way. That the term called scientism, and it's believed that science is the only way to understand the universe, and this sort of leads to a narrowing of.
Yes. I had a professor in Brazil at the philosophy course that when I had a study for a degree in philosophy, he said famously so that a skeptic, someone who is a true skeptic, should lie down and never move any limb, ever. Because if he or she has to move a limb, they have to explain how that limb is moving, what caused it to move. And he said, and the chain of causation would reach to certain metaphysical levels that would really give him the creeps, as you say in English, isn't it? We have a professor of English, teacher of English. What is the meaning of the expression to give someone the creeps?
Yes.
A shiver to run up and down the spine.
It's a bit of a shock, isn't it?
Yes.
Anyhow, let us go back to Morris, Conway Morris. Convergence, that's the thing he develops in this book. He basically says that the universe that we live in has been developed in order to generate conditions for the unfoldment of consciousness. You can understand that he's not very popular with many scientists, right? Convergence is, in my opinion, not only deeply fascinating, but